If you've got £7,500 to buy a new vehicle, you could buy one of these.
The AMI is tiny, slow, and barely even a car at all.
But what if you had the same budget and you wanted something a little bit more exciting?
I would buy this, an Alfa Romeo 147 GTA, the best sounding hot hatch of all time.
And I would buy this, a Renault Megane 265, the driver's choice for hot hatches.
The 147 GTA. It is what I would choose for £7,500.
£7,500 is interesting on this budget because can you really?
You can, maybe. The last one that sold at auction I found was £6,000.
And that was?
It was half a year ago.
Oh, it was half a year ago. Okay, it was a completely different year to now. Look, that's fine.
If you want an auto, £7,500 will do you. You'll find one £7,500. No, this is a manual.
That's a manual.
This is a manual. Look, you're going to have to try, and you're going to have to trust me here, but I reckon you can get a manual. Perhaps a project. One not as nice as this one. But if you don't know what this is, you're in for a treat. This is a 3.2 litre V6 stuffed in a tiny little Italian hatchback.
One of the best looking engines you will ever see, at least at this price bracket. You know, sort of 10 to 15 grand we're talking about right now.
Hey, it's 7.5, let's be real.
That's just nice.
Sorry.
Look at that.
Sorry, chrome pipes in my engine bay of my hatchback. This is an economy car. This car started life for people to get to work in, and Alfa went, stick the 3.2 in there, and not only make him look good, make him sound perfect.
And these make how much power?
247 is what they claim, so around about 250 horsepower, so we're down on your power for sure. What we do have is Italian paint. That looks like a pink lady apple. It's got so much downforce that it's flown the paint off. Inside, please step inside the Italian tannery. Look at that. Also, only Italians could get away with going, we make the seat the black and also the tan at the same time on the red car. You can get this car with an auto, the seller speed, or the silly speed, as people call them. They're controlled by the same control unit as the Ferrari 355 unit, so they're incredibly expensive to repair, and they go wrong all the time.
Nice.
So instead, stick to a manual. We've got the sat-nav, which is incredibly dated. I'll show you this. I mean, that's tough. Surely that was dated in 2001. And then, perhaps the most important thing, come with me to the back of the car. We're here at the back of the car. The only modification that matters, a Wizard exhaust system.
We've wanted to see the Wizard.
By the grace of Arthur, he is, you know, I would go to battle for this Wizard. The noise that a Wizard exhaust makes is, and that is the exact reason why I'm buying this car for £7,500.
Do you think he'll take that?
I don't think you would.
I don't think he would.
I don't think you would. Perhaps let's look at something you can definitely get for £7,500. The Megane.
It's just there.
It's just behind you, mate. You missed it, Ben.
Proper hot hatch.
Whoa. If you're going to come with me for that, how much is this car worth?
You can get one of these, but that's the thing. You get one of these for £5,000 or £6,000. This has had some nice modifications, so you might pay more, you might pay less. So this is the third generation of Megane. This is the one just after the one with the huge arse. Just a really smart looking car.
Especially with the aftermarket wheels with the Pro Tracks, it sits perfect.
Standard, these cars are around about, they're 265 PS, so it's probably like 262.8 horsepower or something ridiculous, but this one isn't.
How much does this make?
This is about 320.
Are there lots of mods to do that, or is that easy?
Not too many. It's very, very simple breathing mods, we'll say. It's not like, oh, I've had to rip the engine out and do this and forge that. It's quite simple.
Once again, you've brought a car that's just way more power than mine.
You pick the car and I go, right, I need one more powerful than that.
More. So, now, this is weird because I didn't know that Corbeau made seats for Renaults.
No, they didn't.
They don't.
They're a very rare option that you have to buy afterwards.
Oh, and then get rid of the original.
About 13 years later, you have to buy these. So in these Renault Sports, you can get Recaros, quite nice Recaros.
Really nice.
But those cars, you'll pay a premium. So a lot of people will buy one of these with the normal cloth seats or the leather seats and just throw some bucket seats in there because that makes way more sense. Just a smart interior as well. I know it's way more modern than the Alfa, but this isn't so modern that there's screens and buttons everywhere.
Would you say it's a nice place to be?
I'd say this is also a nice place to be.
That's a good point.
I think we might be car journalists. You might have an exhaust, but I also have an exhaust.
Well, I would hope so, because it is a car.
It is a car, yeah. Now, I admit it's not going to sound as nice as yours.
No.
But again, we've got some aftermarket bits in there. We'll hear that on the drive.
Do you know what's going to sound better then? It's going to sound better than Amy. Good to see you. Cars.
But again, rear end's just a nice rear end.
Anything with a central exhaust, points going up.
Yeah, it's not as beautiful.
No.
But it's function, 2 litre, 4-cylinder, turbocharged, limited slip diff in the gearbox. But yeah, not much to look at. It is a French car, so you might be looking at it quite a lot, same as you.
Yeah. We're brothers in arms in terms of breaking down.
So the AA are on standby today.
But you know what? The AMI's the worst of both. It's electric and French.
That's fair.
So that's tough to see.
Yeah.
Shall we go and have a drive?
I think we shall.
Let's go.
Now, before we carry on with the Megane and the Alfa, this is a quick reminder that if you are buying a used car, you should always use today's sponsor, Car Vertical.
That's right, because every single day, hundreds of cars get crashed, just like this Megane. But some of them get repaired and put back on the road in an attempt to hide their dodgy past. with a car vertical check, you can find out that shady history.
Now, all you need is a number plate, but if you don't have that, all you need is the car's VIN, and a car vertical report will tell you if that car has been crashed, stolen, or clocked.
Now take behind me a different Megane Sport. I wonder what that's doing here. And if we look on the car vertical report, we can see that just like the front end shows us, it has had damage. If we click on it, we can see that there is a damage report from February of this year. So it's just recently gone up on a crashed auction site.
Now, you join me in my only Renault, which has got a clean report. Unlike this Mercedes AMG GT, which has got a yellow mark for damage, this has had a nasty front end smash, very similar to the Megane that we've just seen. Now, someone is probably going to repair this and put it back up for sale. Some dodgy people out there will try and put it up for full price and not tell you that it's been in a crash. But with a car vertical report and the number plate or the VIN, you can find out this shady past.
So if you're ever buying a car, van, motorbike, or you drive a Renault Megane and you like it so much that you go and buy one on Copart, make sure that you're on a car vertical check to make sure that the price you pay for it matches its history.
And as an added bonus for you guys, Car Vertical are offering you 20% off when you use our code TDC.
Having seen both of our choices, we hit the road in the Alfa to see what it was like.
Right, bear in mind, this is a hatchback, a car built for economy. It's still a road car, so he's kept it quiet, but I bet you, get those windows down.
The windows. It's actually quite
quick.
But a 240, 207 time.
Look at that.
A 240 or 250 horsepower front wheel drive car. That's a lot of power.
That's a lot of power. Before any advanced electronic aids, there is just traction on. Okay, if we sense a little asleep, we pull some power.
I'm going to cut everything.
Or it's, you're on your own, mate.
Yeah. Obviously, we know an Ami, you might be buying it to pot around a city in. You can do that in this.
You can do
this
that in
is
this.
a hatchback. You can also fit 4 people in here.
Also, Ami falling over, making you look embarrassing. Meanwhile, 147 GTA, if you do that in town, you're not getting arrested. Policeman's going, beautiful.
Abuso.
The noise is amazing.
It's a noise that really shouldn't be coming out of a car of this
size.
Of this size.
The 156 GTA, which was the saloon, they put the same engine in. That makes sense. A little bit bigger, it wants to nip at the heels of an M3 perhaps. It could only be Italian or French. It's either Italians or French,
yeah.
to go, the 3.2, this small car.
We get hot hatches now, yes, but you're never getting something like this. There's not going to be a manufacturer who's going to take a run-of-the-mill hatchback, throw a V6 in the front and make it sound like that, or look like this with breasted arches and those cool wheels. Little bits of design that they're not going to happen now.
No, the drawback is it does have an Alfa Romeo badge. Times are great when they're good, but when they're not, they're really tough. After a short drive, I did have a few small changes that I'd make to the car. One thing, I'm going to say it, it's got the standard intake and it needs more. I should be hearing 6-pot intake. More intake, more exhaust, bit stiffer suspension, I'd be all over this. I don't think these cars could be more different. This is big engine, very soft, noise. Yours is practical, fast, stiff as heck. Should we go have a try?
Let's give it a whiz. Now this is, I wouldn't say the polar opposite, it's still a hatchback, we're still front wheel drive, but it's not going for outright passion and soul and noise and
invert.
These are a driver's car. There are people who say these are as good as Porsches sometimes.
Well, we know someone who said that they bought one off someone who was selling it. The only reason they were selling it is they were upgrading to a GT3.
Oh!
Whoa!
That's very nice.
That's really good.
Ooh.
Oh my good God.
So, as you may have seen from us jiggling around in here, this is a modified car.
Yep.
This is on BC coilovers, 300 plus horsepower. So we have an intercooler to keep the temps down. We've got a sports cat, a different catback exhaust as well. We've got an induction kit, which is why you can hear all of that lovely turbo noise. And we've also got some aftermarket wheels as well, which is why it's sitting.
Oh, this thing looks
spot on.
Lovely. When it gets on boost, it's purpose. It's just doing it right.
It's got a limited slip diff, so the front end is just dealing with that power. We're not getting one wheel firing up and then you understeering into a hedge. It just deals with it.
Despite being a Renault, there's a solid reason why these cars aren't to be underestimated.
The first time I ever went to the Nürburgring, I got taken out in a passenger lap in an E46 M3. John, who was driving, said, oh, look at this. He moved over and 3 of these flew past at Mach 11. And on the back of them, they all said, under 8 gang. An 8-minute lap is quick. Ever since then, I've always thought, these things are cool.
It's just that this is a Megane. You can get this as a diesel, as a tiny little petrol engine, and your nan drives it or your granddad drives it or whoever. Owners of these take massive pride in the fact that they just bully other cars on track. And some of those people, they might be better drivers or whatever, but they'll be like, yeah, took my Megane out on track, it's just got some tyres and a remap. I was pushed a GT3 out the way, Ferrari owners waving me by.
Even taking the passenger seat, I buy it. This thing is good.
It doesn't have the noise of the Alfa.
But what I would say is that it sounds better than an Ami.
Oh.
I don't remember Amis having turbo flutter.
No, I don't remember that. They might be able to simulate it, I don't know, but not quite like this.
That is quick! Having driven both cars, we shifted our focus to the Ami to see just what your precious £7,500 gets you.
Right, we've all had a drive. We've all had a drive. Is there anything the Ami can beat us on?
Right.
Other than being very, very small.
Which, all right, tick.
The Ami's range
Okay.
is 46 miles. Do you think this can beat that?
Ooh, now it is a 3.2 in a hatchback. I think it's 23 miles per gallon. So it's not the best.
But you're getting a couple hundred miles at least.
I'm going to say it's a couple hundred miles.
And the Megane easily similar to that, 46 miles beaten. To get to 100% charge, so let's call that a full tank, it takes less than 4 hours.
Ooh, it's close. I'd say it's close. Now, if we're talking about having to repair this to get it back on the road when you pull up to fill up, maybe. But if it's just a normal fill up, no breakdowns, you're gone in a couple minutes.
4 minutes?
Yeah, 4 minutes.
Okay. 0 to 60.
This is about 6 seconds, which is very, very quick for back in the day.
Standard, these 265s are in the 5s. The Ami, it doesn't.
Oh, sorry?
It doesn't. It does 28 miles an hour.
That's interesting.
I don't have a figure for how long it takes to get there.
Okay.
8 horsepower.
Now, you're making how much?
It's about 320, 300 plus.
Okay, so it's a close race.
I reckon 0 to 8 might be roughly similar. You're over budget, really. I'm potentially over budget with this particular car, but I did see an Ami. If you want some special options, would you like to know those options?
Okay, what are the options?
4 decorative wheel trims and 2 rear window decals. And on the inside, you get a cradle for your phone, and then you get something called a My Ami Play with Citroen switch. So basically, you pay £600 for some graphics.
Some graphics.
We weren't sure coming into this street whether we'd choose these two over the Ami.
No, it's
but now,
a tight race.
I think we're pretty sure.
So we got these two hot hatches out on the road together for a little bit of B-road action.
You had to be a little bit weird to buy one of these cars back in the day. Now, it's not like today when there are a billion different hot hatches to choose from, but there was still a good amount. If you wanted something a little bit left field, you could go for the Mark 1 Focus RS. If you wanted something with a big engine, you could get the R32 Golf that had four-wheel drive and everything. And I think because of those other cars, I think this one kind of often gets forgotten about. No one really talks about a 147 GTA, but it's so special. The Busso engine had been going for years and years. It is Alfa to its core, and yet this and the 156 were the last places it went. When Alfa switched to the Brera, that got a GM-derived V6. This just doesn't have the same weight. It still sounded good, but it wasn't as special as the Busso. The Busso had been with us for years. And for me, it's a shame. This car is great. No, it couldn't hold a light even to a standard Megane, but as a thing to drive and just make you feel cool, it's got to be up there for one of the best hot hatches around.
Now, owner of this car, Archie, has been very, very kind to let me borrow this. He's here with us today as well. He's a subscriber of the channel, and I think he's done a stellar job on this car. I was a little bit worried about driving this car, and that's for a very, very good reason, because I may have just bought one. I was on Copart recently, where you buy crashed salvage cars, and one of these came up for what was looking like quite a tempting price. Had a bit of a front end bash, but I did buy it. I really can't wait, because after driving this, it really hasn't disappointed. I was worried that Archie would turn up with his car, I'd have a go in it, and I'd hate it. But as soon as I saw it, looking a little bit lower, with some nice wheels, sat perfectly, I was pretty sold.
I was expecting this car to be more Alfa Romeo. I was expecting the buttons to be on the roof and everything to be wrong, just like older Alfas are. And in some ways, yeah, that might be a tiny bit disappointing, but also it makes you realise that this is just a car with a good engine. I can imagine so many people were probably scared off by this car, but it's just good.
We can't communicate to you why this amount of camber makes the turn-in better, but I can communicate to you that this puts a smile on my face. In the same way that that Alfa puts a smile on Edwin's face. Quite different cars, but both of them give us the same outcome, and that is what's important about both of these.
Now this 147 GTA was provided by the guys at Autosportivo. Now you might have heard of them before because they just specialise in anything Italian in the UK. And he said, I have a customer who I'm just finishing doing a Wizard exhaust for on his 147 GTA. Let me ask him, I'll let you know. And he got back basically instantly saying, yeah, he'd love you to drive it. That's the cool thing about Italian cars. They want to show off how cool, how great it sounds, how great it looks. Their YouTube channel is in the description. Go and check them out, and thank you very much to the kind owner who let me drive this car, because this is a genuine childhood goal realised after watching endless amounts of Top Gear and seeing this thing and thinking, God, I want to drive one of those. So Will, for £7,500, perhaps you can't get your car, and perhaps you can't get my exact car, but would you go out and buy a Megane 265?
I am afraid I have just revealed to everyone that that is kind of what I did, and I've been worried that I wouldn't like this car, but I do very, very much. Has the 147 met your expectations after all of these years?
In some ways it has, in some ways it hasn't. It's not as crazy as I was expecting. I was expecting it to be more Alfa Romeo. It just kind of feels like a car, and it works, but you get the added benefit of the fact it sounds incredible.
Make sure you subscribe for more videos like this, and if you've got a car that you think might be good to feature, we've got a link in the description below where you can submit your car. Thank you very much for watching. If you want to see where we drove an E92 M3 supercharged and Edwin drove a TVR Tuscan, you can watch that here, and we will see you next week.